Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Megan, and I am the founder of Florentis Learning. And I think I am live. So if you are here, please add a comment in the chat, and we will get started. So tell me, what is the most common thing you hear from quiet students or don't hear? Why are your students not speaking? What are some of your challenges with teaching speaking lessons to your ESL students? I'd love to hear your comments. So say hello in the chat and tell me what you would hope to get out of today's session. And that is fantastic. So welcome everyone. Again, my name is Megan. I am I'm the founder behind Florentis Learning. I have been teaching online since 2017. I am also a licensed Canadian classroom teacher. I've been developing curriculum for about 20 years, and I have a Master's of Education in Curriculum Studies focused on best practices in online teaching and learning. So online teaching really is a passion for me, but it's also the area where I have spent a lot of my time researching and studying and learning more about how to improve and deliver the very best lessons that I possibly can to my students. So today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about why students don't speak, even when they know the words. And we're going to talk about 3 types of quiet students and the speaking progression. So sort of what that looks like from a pre-A1 through. Then we are going to talk about how to build speaking confidence. And I have 5 easy steps to help you do that. And what this looks like in a real lesson. I've got 4 activities that you can take and you can use in your classroom tomorrow. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you stay for that. And I also am going to show you how I track my student speaking progress. And I'm then going to talk about sort of your next steps to boost student speaking, including that freebie that I mentioned with some free lessons you can use. And I'll take any questions and we'll go from there. So as I said, if you're here, please say hello in the comments. I'm super excited to have everyone here, and let me know what is one thing that you are wanting to learn today, one thing that brought you to this session is why you're here. So, and with that, we are going to jump right in. So why do students not speak? So we've taught all sorts of lessons. We've talked to them. They fly through some core lessons. And when you ask them that, simple question, it's an open-ended question that they have to answer, like, what did you do this weekend? You get a one-word answer or you don't get a lot. And that can be super frustrating, of course. And I certainly have been on that side of things and know how that feels. I also have been on the side where I ask that question to even my pre-A1 students, and I get like a 15-minute answer. So the other day, actually yesterday, I had a student who has been with me for a few years, so she's pretty comfortable. But she took half of the class talking about her recent trip to Kenya. But usually when students don't speak, even when they know the words, they may be lacking the vocabulary or the sentence structures they need to express their thoughts. So they might know what they want to say, but they just aren't sure what those words are. They might be just scared of making mistakes. And that is that can be super, super challenging when they're just scared that they're going to make mistakes. They might be, if it's a small group class, they might be feeling judged, right, by their peers, or they might just be really anxious about participating. They might need time. So they might have processing challenges and they need time to listen and process the language and think about their answers. Or maybe the tasks are just too difficult. Maybe it's too open-ended, which causes uncertainty, or too difficult beyond their current language levels. This is particularly challenging if you have a group class, because if you have a small group class, the challenge, of course, is that you often have students with slightly different levels, generally not vastly different, but certainly slightly different levels. And this can also make it challenging to teach speaking classes. So these are sort of my groups of sort of 3 types of quiet students. We have the newbie, right? These are the students who lack the vocabulary and the sentence structures. These are the students whose parents say, I want them to take speaking lessons, yet they can't answer the question, how's the weather today? So you need something that's very, very basic, but you really need to be working on foundational stuff. And so the core curriculum from Florentis Learning is really great for helping students gain that foundational vocabulary and sentence structures while also supporting speaking, so that you're satisfying those parents' goals of having speaking. We then have the thinker, and these are just students who process language more slowly and thoroughly. They need you to wait. So you ask the question, right? What did you do on the weekend? And you wait, right? You wait, you give them time to answer, and it's really hard as a teacher to just sit there and you feel like you want to fill the air, right, and fill that gap, but you don't. Wait, and ultimately they will help to answer, and they'll come up with something. You might want to give them a sentence structure to help them with that answer. You might need to give them time to prepare so that they know what to expect each class in terms of what those questions will be. Or you might just need to encourage them to share their ideas. The third type is the nervous one. This is the student that you know can do it. They have the knowledge, but they fear judgment. They need supportive, low pressure environments with opportunities for small group practice before full participation. These different types of quiet students require tailored lessons and strategies. So which type do you see the most in your lessons? So drop a number in the chat. So 1 if it's a newbie, 2 if they're the thinkers, or 3 if they're the nervous ones. So share your ideas, and I'm really curious to see what you are seeing. Hi, Lori. It's great to see you here. Excellent. So yes, so which type do you see most in your own lessons? Drop a 1 in the chat for newbies, 2 for thinkers, or 3 for the nervous one. Right. And 2. All right. Yes, so we've got a 2. So yeah, thinkers. Especially if they're translating in their head, right? They're like thinking in their own language what they want. They're taking what you asked as a question, translating it to their own language, and then they have to think of their answer in their own language and then translate it back. That definitely is going to be that one where it really does, sort of slow them down, right? They need time to think when they're doing that, when they're at that stage in their language learning. And certainly that is not uncommon. Students, there's lots and lots of students, and I know myself learning a second language, I need thinking time, right? I need to, what did they just ask me? Okay, now what am I going to say? So it takes time. All right, so let's look a little bit about at the Common European framework, and sort of what these levels are and sort of what the speaking progressions are. So that pre-A1 to A1, these are the students that give you one-word answers, they repeat patterns, they name objects. These are the students that they can still do speaking lessons. They can still be focused on improving their speaking. But you're probably more likely doing things like picture labeling, yes, no questions, simple dialogues, and, is it raining today? Yes or no, instead of how's the weather? Did you go swimming on the weekend? Did you go to the beach? Did you go to the swimming pool? So those did questions versus the what did you do in this really open-ended type of answer. It can help them get over that fear. And the A2 students, so these students, they're developing their speaking skills. They're becoming pretty confident. They can give short answers and reasons. They can express simple opinions. They can describe people and places. You know, you can have some really good conversations with these students. And these students are ideal for things like guided discussions, but you still want things like picture descriptions, preference sharing. Do you prefer swimming at the beach or swimming at the pool, and why? Do you prefer cats or dogs, and why? And it's it really is something that you can have a lot of fun with at the A2 level. There's a lot of role play going on in that A1 and that A2, where, you know, let's practice ordering a pizza. Let's practice making a hamburger and ordering a hamburger at a restaurant. So lots and lots of options there. And our B1 students, these students are ready to really have fulsome speaking lessons. These students can explain things, they can compare things, they can tell short stories, they can talk about the past and the future. You know, you can, one of the things that I do with some of my B1 students, which is fun, is I actually have a list of vocabulary words, and I actually then say, okay, and it's a small group class, so this works. But I get the first student to start the story, and they have to use the first word in the vocabulary list. And then we go to the second student who adds a sentence to the story, and they have to incorporate the second word in the vocabulary list or reuse the first word. And we build this story, this collaborative storytelling together. Now, granted, some of these stories are a little bit odd for sure, but they are, you know, lots of fun. The students are laughing, I'm laughing, and they, you know, my only real rule is that they have to use the vocabulary, and they have to use the vocabulary correctly. So we have to really be in context. And so that can be a lot of fun. So the other thing that they can do is a lot of comparison tasks. And if you have students that are doing exam prep, this is really important that you do have them doing the comparison tasks. They need to be able to still describe those pictures and getting into speculating about those pictures. So, you know, they notice it's dark out, a student is sitting doing their homework, for instance. Well, they could speculate that it is the evening. Maybe it is a weekday because the student is working on their homework from school that day. You know, there's lots of ways that you can get them practicing speculating. And this is something that you definitely want to be doing if you've got students who are going to be doing exams. Whether it's, you know, if they're preparing for FCE, those types of things. So this is sort of my 5-step process. And I always start by modeling, right? So model the language, the pronunciation, the conversational flow you want students to use. This gives them a really clear example to follow. And then provide scaffolding. So this could be a word bank. So your vocabulary in the chat, for instance. It could be visuals, like a picture on screen that they're going to be describing. It could be a sentence starters to support them as they build their speaking skills. But this is going to help those students. It's going to help your thinkers who are like, oh, how do I start this sentence? It's going to help them with some of the vocabulary that they might be struggling to remember. It's going to help your newbies who are not quite ready, and they're like, oh, I don't really know how to answer this. But if they just have to fill in a couple blanks, it's a lot easier. And it's also going to help the your students, even if they are more confident. Maybe you can take away the sentence the sentence frames. But if they've got a picture that they're describing, they're not having to try to come up with stuff that they need to talk about. There's a picture right in front of them that they can talk about. You can give opportunities for students to practice. So this rehearsal, they could, if you're teaching a small group class, put them into breakout rooms and let them practice. Give them that time for that think, pair, share. And then, or if you're teaching one-on-one lessons, give them that opportunity to practice for homework. They can actually record their answers to 2 or 3 speaking questions. And that way they can listen to it. They could do it again before sending it to you. So if you're using any sort of system like WeChat or anything to communicate with your students, then you can actually have them record answers, and that's part of your rehearsal. Then we want to release them. So let them try it on their own. Gradually remove that scaffolding, gradually remove those sentence structures. And then track progress. And so regularly assess their speaking skills and have them self-assess as well, which will help you track growth over time. And it's something you can report to the parents, which helps to add value to your lessons for those parents. And don't stay tuned, because I do have sort of a framework that I use to very quickly just track my students' speaking skills on 5 points. So which of these 5 steps do you already use regularly? And which one could you do more often? So drop a number in the chat. So 1 for model, 2 for support, 3 for rehearse, 4 for release, and 5 for track progress for something you use regularly. And then also tell me which one you want to do more of. So just giving time for people to answer. All right. And so what does this look like in a real lesson? So this looks like things like engaging themes, right? So age-appropriate themes that connect to their student interests and are real-world situations. It's a lot easier to talk about real-world things than it is to talk about things that you haven't been involved in or don't have any experience with. So if you look at the first picture here, and this is actually from one of the Florentis learning lessons, and I'll give you some a sneak peek into some of our lessons a little bit later. This is one which is a warm-up slide, and we've got 4 questions. You don't necessarily have to ask all 4, but you can see that we've got some progression in these questions. So do you like visiting the beach or a river, right? That's a pretty easy question, and why? You know, what animals live in oceans and rivers? Again, fairly straightforward question. And then we get into, have you ever seen trash in the water, and what did you think? And why is clean water important for all people and animals? Excellent. So Laura, you're doing lots of 1 and 2, and you want to do all 5 more. That's awesome. Yes. When I actually sort of sat back and sort of looked at what I was doing, I also personally identified that I need to do more of the more of number 3. So even when you teach lots of speaking lessons, it's something like, oh yeah, like I need to do more of this. The visual prompts. So I talked about using interesting photos, right? So this is a photo, and there's a lot happening in this photo. We have the twinkling lights, we have the tree fort, or the inside house fort that was probably built. We've got people reading together. We can talk about the people. We could maybe speculate about the story. We can speculate about the time of day. Obviously, it's nighttime because of the lights. You know, we can talk about feelings in the picture. So this is a really rich picture, even though at first glance you're like, oh, it's just people reading, but you can actually expand on that. And you also want to provide those sentence supports and starters. So I've actually dragged this airplane in there. So this particular screen is from one of the beginner lessons. And it's really about toys and, a toy store type conversation. And you can drag like the plane, you can drag the robot, the balls, the trucks, the yo-yos, the bear. So you can drag some of these toys over into your actual sentence structure. And this is something that you'll see a lot in the Florentis learning lessons, in the core lessons as well, in that we try to provide that scaffold support for speaking and developing sentences. And then all of our lessons are this user-friendly design. So you don't need to do a lot of preparation. Teachers are busy. I'm busy. We're all busy. We want to have time. We want to teach and get done, and then go on to the other things that we have planned for the day. And so that is one of the advantages as well. Now, I promised you some strategies and some things that you could use like right now. And so let's go back to those newbie, thinker, and nervous. And so I know that certainly the thinkers were identified in the chat as being one of the groups that, it's like, okay, I need some support with this. So for the thinkers, things like think, pair, share. This works well if you've got a small group class. Obviously, it's harder to do think, pair, share if it's just you and a student and it's a private lesson. But in that case, you can do things like an interactive whiteboard. So pull up your whiteboard, throw it up on the screen, and give the students a minute to respond. So you can put a sticky note up, they can put their ideas, you could make a mind map, you could put your topic in the middle, and then have students brainstorm some ideas that they can talk about before they start talking. And this really helps to give them that time that they need to prepare. It also gets them doing a little bit of writing, which is another really important key to helping students really improve their speaking skills. You can also assign pre-work. So if students know what they're going to be talking about next class, right, you can ask them to come up with their opinion on it. You can ask them to, brainstorm some ideas about things that they want to talk about related to that topic. In my small group class, I very, very frequently assign them the homework to prepare a 2-minute presentation, and they know what the question is. And I ask the question at the beginning of the class, and there's 4 of them in it. So then we go around and each person shares their 2-minute presentation. And I actually put a timer up on my screen and we time it. But they've had all sorts of time. They've had time between classes to prepare and think about what they want to say. We started off doing this for 30 seconds, then a minute, and now we do 2 minutes and on occasion 3 minutes. The class is an hour long, so I have time to take the 8 minutes to have everyone speak for 2 straight minutes, or even for 3 straight minutes. But if you have a shorter class of 25 minutes and it is a group class, then you'll want to think about how long that presentation might be. If we look at the newbies, promote some nonverbal communication, right? So thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you like apples, right? And we get some thumbs up. Reactions or emojis. If you're using a teaching platform even like Zoom, you've got the opportunity to have people do some reactions or emojis. So teach your students how to use those so that they can respond, especially in a group class. Use comprehension checks. So fingers. So do you understand, right? 1 finger for low understanding, 5 fingers for high understanding. Works great in small groups, but it also works well in one-on-one. You can do things like I've been doing today and ask students to add a number to the chat. Which one do you agree with? 1 or 2. Which one is your favorite? 1, 2, or 3, and number the items on your screen. For nervous students, the biggest thing is your classroom culture. They need to understand that mistakes are okay, and that they feel that they can speak up without fear of judgment. In a small group, my rule is the only person that can, it depends on your group, because I do have groups that are fine, but in other groups, the only person that might be able to correct someone's speaking is me. And I often in a group will actually send a chat message as the student is speaking so that they know what the correction is without me calling them out to everyone. Give students advance notice that you're going to call on that student. Just a discreet chat works, right? Like, Tina, you're next. And then they, okay, I'm going to have to speak next, right? So they can get ready. And then encourage students to record themselves. So whether it's group classes or one-on-one classes, getting students to record their speaking is good for self-assessment. It's good because they actually can then hear their mistakes. And sometimes they think that they're speaking and they don't make any mistakes. So they actually are making mistakes. They just don't realize it. So get them to record that, right? So that they can really hear their mistakes. So I also promised 4 activities. So this is my first one, picture prompts, which I've talked a little bit about already. You'll see in the picture here, just on the screen, there's a market, right? You can start with simple prompts like what do you see, what's happening, and you can provide sentence frames for those. But choose interesting pictures. You can use AI to help you create pictures, but you also can use sites like Pexels or FreePic, and there's oodles of image or Wikimedia. There's oodles of images that are available royalty free that you can have like just sort of a bank or a folder on your computer ready of pictures that you can pull up for a picture prompt question. I like this. I like finding the differences, and students really enjoy it because it's like a game. And so these 2 pictures are actually in a weather unit, and you can see, yes, I've got different weather in both screens. But there's lots more to talk about here in these 2 pictures in terms of the differences. And you can take this forward to even more complex sentences using conjunctions with things like in picture A, the woman is wearing a short red jacket. But in picture B, the woman is wearing a long brown jacket. So we've got adjectives in that, we've got descriptions in that, we've got complex sentences, we've got coordinating conjunctions with but. So there's lots happening in that sentence frame, and you can start it as 2 sentences and then you can put that together. So lots of opportunity to sort of advance that. My third activity, and I like this, I do this routinely in a group class at least, but I've done it well. It works well in private lessons as well, is a 3-2-1. And so I choose a topic and I put the topic on my whiteboard, right? And if I'm doing it in a one-on-one class, I give them 3 minutes to tell me whatever they think of. And I actually will put some of their words on the whiteboard for them. And then they have to retell that same story in 2 minutes, focusing on the most important points. And then they summarize it in 1 minute. This works really well in a small group class because they're talking to their partner and the partner is retelling the story, right? And sorry, they're telling a story to a different partner each time. But your final round, your 1 minute, if you're doing sort of breakout rooms, the final round 1 minute can be back in your main classroom. So you go to one breakout room, you talk for 3 minutes, you go to the next breakout room with a different partner for 2 minutes, and then the final round, everyone comes back and they tell their 1 minute story. This builds fluency because of the repetition, but it also helps with teaching students to be concise and to prioritize valuable information. And a conversation spinner game. So the conversation spinner game, this is just my wheel of questions. And if you don't have a wheel of questions that you use, then I highly recommend you grab one. I will put the link in the chat for my wheel. It's free for my spinner game. And you can grab that, and essentially I will use that. I can use it as an extension. I can use it as a warm up. I can use it sort of anyway, but I just spin the wheel and we get a question, and we get a random question each time. Super easy, super quick. And sometimes we'll do 4 questions. Sometimes we'll do 1 question. It really just depends on the day and my mood and what my students' mood. So those are 4 activities that you can try. So we have the picture description, we have the find the differences, we have the 3-2-1, and we have the conversation spinner game, or the spinner wheel. Which one do you want to try? Are you going to try the picture description, the find the differences, the 3-2-1 or the conversation spinner game? Or which one have you used? So, that was not my intention. So have you used the in your classroom and you like share your ideas in the chat? And if you have a better idea, throw that in the chat too. I'm always looking for new ideas and things that I can do in my speaking class. So at the beginning, I indicated that we were going to look at sort of my way of tracking and quickly assessing student progress. So this is the rubric that I use. And really, it's got two pieces. It's got the sentence length, right? And whether it's a complete sentence, and it's got vocabulary usage. And it has 5 levels. And I literally just give students like 1-1 or 2-1 or, 3-2. So I just pick my numbers and then I record that. And I try to do this at least once a month, but it's better if I do it every class. And then I just fire them into my spreadsheet and I can actually see. Excellent. So Lori's used pictures and find the differences. So Lori, you'll have to try out the question wheel or the 3-2-1. Both of those are awesome as well. Excellent. And so this is what I use. So if we take a look at what a 3-2 student is, in my mind, a 3-2 student is a student that uses simple and expanded sentences that add some detail to my thoughts. So they might use words like because, right? And they're using still very general language, right? So we're not necessarily using specific language. And obviously this is completely subjective. You can adapt it for yourself. But for me, having a framework, it helps me assess where students are at and set goals. So maybe I want by next month for this student to be a 3-3. And so I know for them to get to be a 3-3, we need to work on using some specific language in their answers. And this is also useful if you've got students who are a little bit older, you can show them this and ask them to assess themselves, right? So super, super simple. And you can adapt it to work for yourself, but definitely I like to track. I think it's really important to track. So I'm just going to, and I thought I had done this before, but anyway, I'm going to jump over to the courses. And so Florentis Learning has 3 different levels of speaking. So we can help you with this, right? You don't have to do it all on your own. We have a beginner, elementary, and intermediate levels of speaking. And there's about 50 speaking lessons available for you. If we jump into a beginner lesson, then I'm just going to open up the beginner and show you some of the topics. You'll see, and you can see all of these topics if you go to the website, florentislearning.ca. You'll see we've got some about me, hello, goodbye, where are you from, favorite toys. We've got things about my home. We've got some weather conversations. We've got community discussions, exploring the community, and we've got a school-related conversation. And we are routinely adding to this. So there were actually, I think, 2 lessons added in this section last week. These are ready-made. They're ready to use. If we jump into the Let's Be Friends, for instance, the Let's Be Friends is, oh, it's the one I'm on, so that's good. So I do teach speaking classes every week. And so that's part of the reason there's lessons routinely added to the speaking, because I always need new lessons for my students. And so this Let's Be Friends, Lori is here. So Lori, you can be my student. And you want to definitely choose on this screen. It's really important to choose whether they're male or female. It's not in all of our lessons for the speaking curriculum yet, but the new ones it is. And the reason is that, well, of course, you get their name on the first screen welcoming them, but, and these are draggable, when you get to some of the dialogue screens, and I'm just going to jump to some some of those, or maybe I'll just click through so people can get an idea. This is a picture description, of course. And we've got some vocabulary work. There are built-in rewards. So we've got the 5 stars across the top. Lots of teachers use that. And we've got dialogues. And so keep in mind, this is beginner level. So we're working through what's your name, and then they get to practice. And this is why I said it's important to choose, because this is the teacher and this is the student. And so this is the exact same character that they saw on the welcome screen. And then the nice thing about this is you can have you can switch roles then. So you can have the teacher or the student be different things. And then you get to drag in who you're going to practice being. So it's just introductions. So this is a fun lesson. So this one gets into, what's your name, introducing each other, then borrowing things. So we're borrowing pencils and school supplies. And then it gets into playing together. And so if we look at playing together, it's recess. Do you want to play, right? And this one, you'll notice it's a little bit more advanced in that they get to choose. Oh, no, I don't. Do you want to play tag? No, I don't. Let's play soccer. Let's go. And so again, still use your teacher icons and your student icons. But now we can switch, right? So maybe I'm going to now be this person, and I'm going to put my student up here. And this is that indicator for the student. What is it that I'm supposed to speak? Oh, okay. Yay, it's recess. Do you want to play soccer? No, I don't. Let's play board games. So you can see sort of how they work. So the new lessons are built like this with this functionality. So make sure you put their name in, and make sure you put in male or female so that you get the icon that really is going to work for them. And this one has then a practice. You take it through the whole thing. So hello, what's your name, right? Do you want to play? It's recess. Do you want to play? And we put it together at the end to really practice. So this one has sort of 3 little dialogue pieces in Let's Make Friends, and lots of interaction, lots of things to click, and lots of things to do, which is fun. So let's just jump back, and I'm going to take you to a like the opposite end. So that was beginner. Elementary are obviously in the middle. And then the opposite end, I have a variety of topics under the intermediate level. These are more your A2, B1 type students. So we've got some paleontologists, sports photographers, pharmacist type job lessons. We've got some topics under environment. We've got some topics around animals and other creatures. We've got some health topics, and we've got a topic around expressing an opinion. And so robot pets, this one is sort of fun. I did this one the other day with my student. And robot pets is this picture that you see. For context, this is actually this is a new thing. It's a pet. And so some students have actually heard of robot pets. I had not until I did this lesson. But again, you'll notice that 4-stage warm-up, right? So you don't have to answer all the questions. You can answer some. You can choose which ones you're going to use based on scaffolding with your student. And then we have a few new words around dementia and comfort, lonely, and stress. And we get into a really short excerpt about this new robot puppy helping people with dementia, right? There is the article reference in terms of where it came from, and then we can talk quickly about sort of what that article's about. And we begin to get into some picture descriptions still. So one of these is a real pet, one of these is a robot pet, right? Which one looks more like a real pet? And then a game in terms of would you rather have a pet that talks or a pet that sings? So some silly things. There is a role play in this. Again, this one is a pet store. In the beginner level, there is a pet store one, but it's really just very simple, whereas this one is getting into a much more complex conversation about a pet store. And then you can actually role play, right? So you've read through one. Now we can actually practice that, right? You want to buy a pet. Store has real pets and robot pets, right? You're going to ask questions and decide. And then there's some opinion questions, just some agree or disagree with statements and why. And then for homework, or depending on your time in class, you can imagine a new robot pet. And so, as I said, I encourage my students to record. So this is one of the things that I would actually have students record for homework and send to me. We often have talked about it in class, but I might change it for homework and tell them that they have to talk to me for a minute about their new robot pet, right? And so lots of fun, a little bit of imagination, obviously, but this is actually something real. You can actually buy robot pets now. So, and then just some wrap-up questions. And in the intermediate lessons, these do tend to be the same. What did you learn today? What's one new word you remember, right? Would you want a robot pet in the future? So you can see big difference, obviously, between those introductory lessons and those more intermediate lessons. This lesson, and truthfully, even the other lesson, both of those lessons could be used for children, but they also could be used for adults. So if you have adult speaking classes, you certainly can jump into some of these lessons really easily and use them with your adults as well. So I did promise everyone a 3 free lessons today. And so if you go to our site, and so florentislearning.ca, and sign up for the free sample pack. This actually includes not just 3 free speaking lessons, but you get 12 core lessons, you get a writing lesson and a phonics lesson, and 3 speaking lessons. So if we jump down to the conversation curriculum ones, you get my favorite toy, which is a beginner, ordering pizza, which is elementary, and then protecting rivers and oceans, which is an intermediate lesson. All of those lessons you could also easily scaffold depending on the age of your student. You might not do my favorite toy with, your 15-year-old student or an adult student, but you certainly can easily scaffold. Ordering pizza can be used for any level, really. And protecting rivers and oceans, you could pick and choose the slides from that you wanted to do and have a full 30-minute class and conversation. So if you haven't already, grab a copy of our free sample pack and check out our lessons. You will get access to, as I said, 12 of our core curriculum lessons, a lesson from the writing curriculum, and a lesson from our brand new phonics curriculum. And I'm going to do a webinar soon on our new phonics curriculum and sort of, more importantly, some tips for teaching phonics without just drilling. And so stay tuned for that. And I will be doing that in the next week or two. Actually, it'll be a webinar related to phonics. And we'll give everyone a sneak peek into that as well at the same time. So as I said, grab your free gift, right? Download the free package. And then if you're interested, don't forget to explore our whole curriculum. Works out to about $10 a month. At the moment, that is a special founder's price, so that price won't be around forever. But we also have an option for a lifetime membership. And that complete curriculum gives you the core ESL curriculum, so 6 levels. There's a total of about 336 lessons currently available. There'll probably be 340-ish by the weekend. We are adding lessons every week. And then the conversation lessons, the writing lessons, the brand new phonics curriculum, and there's a picture from one of the phonics screens. So they're super fun. All of our placement tools. Now, our placement tools are also available free, and I will link the last webinar I did in the description of this video. But if you haven't seen the placement tools and the automated learning plan generator, you definitely want to take a look at that. If you're doing any trials with students, it will super simplify your life, and you'll appreciate that, and your training and support. So On our website, once you get in and you get your free pack, you'll also notice there's a section for games. I didn't show it to everyone today, but there's games in there that you can play with your students. They're great for extension, all of those types of things. So questions, does anyone have any questions? So thank you, of course, for coming today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you'll know what's coming up. And as you reflect on the strategies, I'd love to hear from you. So which one are you most interested in trying first? You can share that in the chat. You know, is this helpful? Do you have questions that you'd like me to do another webinar on? You know, this is our chance really to dive deeper. And if anyone wants to reach out, you can reach out to us. And I'm happy to chat further and sort of talk about specific students or specific situations. And of course, I'm always happy to talk about the lessons from Florentis Learning. I'm super proud of them and super excited about them. And my students are loving them. So I can't wait for everyone else to get the same sort of experience with their students. So that is that. Thank you all. Have a great day. Like and subscribe and grab your free sample pack. I'll put the link in the description as well.